We started in Michigan. There were long days and many miles behind us. My friend and I had spent almost 2 weeks, mostly on the Trans-Canadian Highway, on bicycles. That was a lot of concrete, asphalt, and eye-level truck tires slapping the pavement next to us, with no proper roadside to ride on. But we had two things going for us. We were young, and we were invincible. On this morning, our camp was just this side of the Canadian border on the northernmost reaches of Minnesota's Highway 61. Not in a campground, that would have been too easy, but a well-scouted out spot off the main reaches of the highway. Personal showers were few and far between on this trip, and I doubt this morning left us any more pleasant to look at or even perhaps be close to. It was a good morning, though, and even a better morning to look for some breakfast. Now, I'm going to guess that some of you may know of a historic place on the Lake Superior shore called Nanabuju, about 20 miles north of Grand Marais. It was the first place we came to that offered any possibilities of food. As we slowly rode up the drive, we began to question if this place, looking a little fancy, might be open to the likes of us. Maybe we really didn't belong. In our hesitation, someone came out and asked us what we might be looking for. When we answered breakfast, we were welcomed in without hesitation. Once inside, we were in somewhat of a shock to discover the interior of the dining room with calming views through two-story French windows that we observed from the outside. A stone fireplace occupied near the entire wall, one side on the opposite side. In the big dining room, with large comfy chairs creating a restive habitat on the opposite side, accompanied by plenty of reading materials with no shortage of National Geographics. It was the 70s. Didn't everyone read National Geographics in the 70s? Looking up, there were Native American / Art Deco hand-painted designs on the ceiling and walls in patterns that unfolded bright and bold. How could we not feel the warmth of this place? How wonderful a gift for breakfast, for a couple of travelers, and we were personally welcomed inside. Though we may have felt like we did not belong, we were made to feel like we did. After nearly 40 years, I still have this memory, and I reached out for it this morning because it illustrates to me why we, as a community, gather here each Sunday to make sure we feel the warm touch of belonging, that all are welcomed here in spirit of kindness, no matter who you are or where you come from. Let us honor the gift of belonging with this lighted chalice. Where Do We Come From? By Josephine Leah. Where do I come from? A question I often ponder. 3 separate pathways: genetics, countries, or culture, all interwoven but none alike, a basket of comfort from which I take flight. Definition by passport, I have 2, or by my parents' heritage, but they struggle too. Where do I come from? An interesting question, in fact, an answer I won't reduce to saying this or that. My parents had bred me, combining their lives of genetic code and thick family ties. From this, I was produced, born on English soil, yet I still come from nature, the real truth of us all. Second reading is called Inside the Walls. It is said that during the Second World War, some soldiers serving in France wanted to bury a friend and fellow soldier who had been killed. Being in a foreign country, they wanted to ensure their fallen comrade had a proper burial. They found a well-kept cemetery with a low stone wall around it, a picturesque little Catholic church with a peaceful outlook. This was just the place to bury their friend. But when they approached the priest, he answered that unless their friend was baptized Catholic, he could not be buried in this cemetery. He wasn't. Sensing the soldiers' disappointment, the priest showed them a spot outside the walls where they could bury their friend, and reluctantly they did so. The next day, the soldiers returned to pay their final respects to their fallen friend, but could not find the grave. "Surely we can't be mistaken. It was right here," they said. Confused, they approached the priest, who took them to a spot inside the cemetery walls. "Last night I couldn't sleep," said the priest. "I was troubled that your friend had to be buried outside the cemetery walls. So I got up and I moved the fence."
It's a great pleasure to be back with you, and I'm reminded of one of my many minister friends who once told me, "You had to get to church early on Sunday to get a seat in the back." You guys have taken it all the way to the second row. I mean, get the tablecloth, get the lemonade. Got a whole lot of food, we've really got it made. Friends are coming around, are we ready? You bet. We love having you over. Keep the table set, keep the table set. You never know what's next. Maybe something great, fine as china or paper plates. When you shine all your dishes with your dreams and your wishes, never know what you'll get. Here we go. Woo! Somebody bring hope, somebody bring wine, somebody bring peace. That'll be so mighty fine. We could use a cake, I can taste it right now. All I gotta say is holy cow, keep the table set. You never know what's next. Maybe something great, fine as china or paper. There you go. When you shine all your dishes with your dreams and your, never know what you'll get. Ooh, there we go. There's never too many people at our table. We can always find an extra place. Don't be shy, just show up as you're able. It doesn't matter how you say your grace, it's up to you. If you need to do laundry, there's soap on the shelf. Welcome mats on the doorstep, fridge is open, so help yourself. Something wonderful's coming, some wonderful treats. So grab a towel off the clothesline, get ready to eat. Why? Keep the table set, you never know what's next. Maybe something great, maybe something fine as china, fine as china. When you shine all your dishes with your dreams and your, never know what you'll get. Keep the table set, never know what's next. Maybe something great, fine as china or paper plates. When you shine all your dishes with your dreams and your wishes, never know what you'll get. Never know what you'll get. You never know what you'll get. Well, there you go, the world's hardest sing-along, and you came along with me. And that's the title of my talk today. If you haven't heard me before or seen this format, it's called a sermon and song. It's very much like a mini concert, but it's themed, and I'm aware of the monthly theme of belonging in the UU denomination, and I thought this would be a good one. There's a little story about that song. In 1999, I was invited to teach at a songwriting camp for adults by a woman named Penny Nichols. She wanted to allow adults who had somehow gotten separated from their music along life's way to reconnect with their folk guitars and their singing and songwriting that they might have loved earlier on in life. And she invited me to be an instructor, and I had never taught songwriting before, so this was over the phone. She said, "Will you come be one of my teachers?" I said, "Absolutely." Because I've also learned as I get older that saying yes will often yield more wonderful results than an automatic no, especially when the no is just such a default response. So I learn a lot by saying yes and then figuring out how later. And we have our 22nd anniversary camp in 2020. It's been going for 22 years. Penny passed away a couple years ago, and now I'm the executive director of this nonprofit where we invite 80 people from all over the country to come and write songs with us on a very level playing field. You know, I like to say all levels are welcome, no experience preferred. And about 2 years into this, a fellow named Tom Ryan showed up, a fine Irishman from Philadelphia, and Tom and I became friends immediately. He loved sports like I do. He loved a sense of humor. He loved writing songs. He loved talking respectfully with others about what's going on in the world. And we became like brothers. And Tom came to camp every year for 10 years. And his day job was Sparkles the Clown. That's what he did. He went around to libraries and halfway homes and schools and all kinds of places, sprinkling a little magic around when he could. Sparkles the Clown. And many was the time when I would play near his Philadelphia hometown area when he would call me up and say, "Hey Dave, could I drop in and say hi? I'm coming from a clown gig. I won't have time to change." And I said, "Come as you are. Come as you are." And so halfway through a given concert, I'd see that big white hand waving from the back, you know, that blown up white glove. And there was Sparkles. And he would come in and talk to people. The best time was that when I was teaching a songwriting workshop at a Quaker conference center outside Philly called Pendle Hill. The course was called Writing Songs for Personal and Global Change. And Sparkles called me up and said, "Hey, can I come to the open mic on Wednesday night in the Quaker Meeting House?" I said, "Absolutely, I'll save a spot for you." So halfway through, we'd opened that open mic to the whole community, and my 15 songwriting students, all ages, were in the inner square. If you've ever been to a Quaker Meeting House, the pews are facing the center in a square, and the place was packed, and we passed the guitar around, everybody was playing the new songs, and halfway through I saw that white glove because Sparkle said he could drop by, and when the next song was done, he came in and sat down, and many heads went like, I didn't say anything. Guitar came to Sparkles, and he played one of his beautiful songs. I think the song he played that night was, "The barn's burnt down, now I can see the moon." And was done, the thing concluded, we chatted a little bit, and he left, and I never explained a thing to anybody, ever, the next day, anytime. And of course, is it my job, or your job for that matter, a rhetorical question, to explain someone else's appearance, how they carry themselves in the world? I don't think it's my job, so I'll just leave it at that. And Tom came to camp every year for 10 years, and in 2011, he showed up at age 59, but he looked about 259 because he had a very aggressive cancer diagnosis that year. But he still got himself to be with his lifetime friends, which is what we become when we create art together. And Tom and I were sitting in the cafeteria one day, and I said, "Tom, I'm so honored that you've come to camp. I know it probably took a lot of effort." He says, "I wouldn't have missed it, Dave." And I said, "How long have we known each other now? You know, you feel like a brother to me." And he says, "Yeah, you've always felt that way to me too. Dave, we've known each other for these 10 years. And I said, "That's amazing. And all this time, have we ever written a song together?" "No." There was a little edge in his voice, and I think I knew what he was getting at. And I said, "So let's write one this week," because we both felt that this was the time. And Tom said, "I've always wanted to write a song with you, David." And I said, "All right, let's meet back here in the cafeteria an hour from now. I've got to go talk to some people. Let's meet back here an hour." And Tom Ryan, the fine Irishman from Philadelphia, said, "I'll keep the table set." And that's the song we just sang. And Tom passed away the next year. And I got to visit him in hospice. One of the things we did was we watched Pete Seeger on the Stephen Colbert Show. Pete Seeger, who should have won a whole bunch of Nobel Peace Prizes as far as I'm concerned. Because on his shoulders I stand, and many others, you know, who came before us. So I tell you that to inform you a little bit about the people who have inspired me besides, you know, Sparkles and Tom,
Of course, Peter, Paul, Mary, and Simon, and Garfunkel, and Jackson Browne, and Phil Oakes, and Seeger, and Dylan, and Joan Baez, and Judy Collins, and Tom Lehrer, and Alan Sherman, and Steve Goodman, and John Prine, and all those guys. That's the sum of the parts of the songwriter who stands before you today. On the subject of welcoming. For the last 4 years, Guadalupe checked in to the Phoenix office of immigration. Both of her kids, U.S. born. But everything changed the day they took her away. In the home of the brave, in the land of the free, we are immigrants and pilgrims and refugees from every nation, one family. When you come for Guadalupe, you come for me. For the last 2 years, Kamal made his rounds. Interfaith Medical Center, New York City. He went to Sudan to visit his mom. But everything changed, he couldn't come back, he was stranded. In the home of the brave, in the land of the free, we are immigrants and pilgrims and refugees from every nation, one family. When you come for Kamal, you come for me. Give me your tired, your poor huddled masses. This is America built by dreamers, yearning to breathe free. If I had to leave my country, what would I do? If the way I dressed was a trigger for you, if I'm not welcome here, where would I go? Could I sail away on an unknown ocean of hope? In the home of the brave, in this land of the free, we are immigrants and pilgrims and refugees from every nation, one family. When you come for Guadalupe, for Kamal, when you come for my neighbor, you come for me. And oh, I tell you, I have had a time with that song the last 2.5 years. Singing it at just about every concert, and I do a lot of concerts all over the place every year. And I'll just let you in on a little secret. And everywhere I go is not always filled with people who have the same ideas about things as I do. There are people who have different opinions. It's amazing, you know. And I learned something quickly from that song, which is called Home of the Brave. I co-wrote that with a couple friends, a gal from San Francisco named Karen Drucker, and a beautiful musician from Colorado named J.D. Martin. I've been playing it ever since we wrote it together 2.5 years ago, and I was playing at a little Methodist church on a Monday night near Seattle, where I lived, in Coopville, Washington, on one of the islands. And the sponsor was an old friend of mine, a veteran, who had brought me there many times over the years. And I'd just written this song, and it was, the Methodist church was packed on a Monday night, and I played that song I just played for you at the end of the first set. And a hush fell over the crowd when I sang, "When you come for Guadalupe, you come for me." Just went silent, like almost a vacuum, you know. And you could have heard a pin drop, except if you drop a pin in a vacuum, it just floats. It doesn't hit the ground, you know. So it's a little extra science, no extra charge. And you could fact check me and probably prove I'm wrong on that. And when I started the second set, there were 4 seats in the front row that were empty that had been occupied before. And I said, "Hey, Vern, is everything okay?" He said, "Oh yeah, those 4 gentlemen came up and said they'd heard enough for one night." And then he said, not me, he said, "But please keep doing what you're doing. We need this. This is why I've brought you here for 20 years. Please keep doing what you're doing. We need to have a respectful conversation and be reminded of the human family." But I learned something that night. There might be times when I would play that song in the second set, not the first set. I'm smarter than I look. And the next Monday night, I was in the Gates Fire Hall in Central Oregon, which was a logging town that drew people there for its deer hunting. So logging and deer hunting, and I played my concert, and the fire hall was packed. There were 50 chairs and about 70 people. I think they actually violated the fire code that night. The fire chief was there playing a little piano with me, very nice guy, Gary Swanson, and I played that song, and at the end of the night, just before the song I will play as a postlude at the end of the service over at the piano. And again, oh my God, pin drop. And then I played one more song. It's called "I Stand for Love," which, by the way, I do. And people clapped for a long time, and then they left. And the fire chief said, "Mr. Roth, can I see you in my office?" I said, "Yes, yeah, Gary, I'm just finishing up a conversation. Mr. Roth, I'd like to see you now. Could you please come in and close the door behind you?" And then, here's how my mind works. In the time it took for me to walk from where I was standing to where Greg is sitting, which was where his office door was, here's what went on in my mind. Oh, here it comes. Here comes the "how dare you. How dare you come into my building, our building, a taxpayer-funded building, and sprinkle these ideas around. You could just take a look around and see that, people weren't going to, you were going to push some buttons with that song. How dare you? I've been the fire chief here for 25 years. I'm going to be hearing about this for the next 10 years that we had this event here because of that song. And then I open the door. He says, "Please sit down," across the conference table. And I looked at him, and he waited an eternal 5 seconds. It seemed like an eternity. And he said, "I love how you did that." And I said, "Did what?" And then he started to break into a laugh, and he said, "You know what you did." And I said, "Oh, you mean that moment at the end where it got really quiet?" And he didn't say yes or no, but he waited another 5 seconds, a lot shorter this time. And he said, "If you had done that song in the first half of your concert tonight, half of the room would have emptied out. And I'd be hearing about this for the next 10 years. Some people would call for my resignation because of that. But because you put it at the end of the night and you sang all these songs, and his phrase, you dropped all these hints about the human family, respecting the environment, giving service to the underserved, respect for people with disabilities, compassion, social justice. Because you were dropping these hints all night. By the way, I was just singing my songs. I know these people. They're on their way home now, and they're talking about this." And he said, "I never would have believed it was possible, and for this, I thank you." And I said, "Well, Gary, you're welcome." Okay. Have I got time for one more song to wrap this up? Yes? Okay. So I'll put an end to this. We'll keep the table set. And the whole point is about who's welcome where, and we make a point to welcome everybody that we can. And when there are hiccups in the psyche from old patterns learned from our families and our friends, I like to take a step back before I blurt out something that comes from an old pattern. The only other song of mine that I think has the word table in it. As we come around to take our places at the table, moment to remember and reflect upon our wealth. Here's to loving friends and family, and here's to being able to gather here together in good company and health. And may we be released from all those feelings that would harm us. May we have the will to give them up and get them gone. For heavy are the satchels, full of anger and false promise. May we have the strength to put them down. May the light of love be shining deep within your spirit. May the torch of mercy clear the path and show the way. May the horn of plenty sound so everyone can hear it. May the light of love be with you every day. And may we wish the best for everyone that we encounter. May we swallow pride and may we do away with fear. For it's only what we do not know that we have grown afraid of, and only what we do not choose to hear. May the light of love be shining deep within your spirit. May the torch of mercy clear the path and show the way. May the horn of plenty sound so everyone can hear it. May the light of love be with you every day, every day. And as we bless our daily bread and drink our day's libation, may we be reminded of the lost and wayward soul, the hungry and the homeless that we have in every nation. May we fill each empty cup and bowl. May nothing ever come between or threaten to divide us. May we never take for granted all the gifts that we receive. Being ever mindful of unseen hands that guide us and the miracles that cause us to believe. May the light of love be shining deep in your spirit. May the torch of mercy clear the path and show the way. May the horn of plenty sound so everyone can hear it. May the light of love be with you. May the light of love be with you. May the light of love be with you every day. Today's meditation comes from several sources by way of quotes. Albert Einstein said that imagination is more important than knowledge. Eleanor Roosevelt said, "No one can make me feel inferior without my consent." Will Rogers said, "Even if you're on the right track in life, you'll get run over if you don't keep moving." Oscar Wilde said, "Be yourself. Everyone else is already taken." W.H. Auden. A man born in Britain who became a naturalized U.S. citizen through immigration in his late 30s said,
We are here on earth to do good to one another. What the others are here for, I don't know.